Educational Communications and this station present Environmental Directions with Nancy Perlman. On this series, we explore the effects of human influence on the Earth's ecosystems and discuss solutions to environmental problems which affect the quality of life on this planet. Environmental Directions gives you the kind of information you need to help you participate in decisions impacting your community, the nation, and the world. Now, here's your host, Nancy Perlman.
Hello. For the next half hour, we are going to be talking about providing clean water distribution, especially for disasters and relief areas and communities in need, with my guest, Jeff Szur. He is founder and chief operations officer of Altitude Water, which is a leading manufacturer and installer of several types of atmospheric water generators, from residential and light commercial machines to heavy-duty military-grade machines that produce water anytime, anywhere. It's a pleasure to have you back on Environmental Directions.
Thank you so much, Nancy. It's such an honor and pleasure to talk with you. I say it all the time, to speak with such a pioneer that was involved in the environmental movement before it even became chic, so to speak. It's such an honor and pleasure, and thank you for having me.
Well, thank you very much, because while we originally talked about how your water generator worked, I have been following your work. You have helped with so many projects that I really want you to talk about your efforts, the Water Awareness Project, the Hurricane Idalia in Florida outside Tampa, the Disaster Relief Trailer in Hawaii, the water distribution that you've been doing all over the world, really, and especially your work in Colombia. But let's begin first with why it is so important to have this new technology that can provide clean water to communities or in disaster relief areas where water may be available but isn't so clean.
Yeah, it's been an incredible year since I spoke to you. My heart is definitely full. But the reason that our technology is so applicable in the areas that you speak about is we make water where there is no water or where the water is not drinkable. We talk about so many of those different disasters or so many of those different villages. There may be a river, but it's a river where it's been contaminated or people are washing in it. And a lot of the places that we operate, they don't have sanitation as well as not having water. So contamination is a huge factor, and usually it's remote. So the fact that my machines or Altitude Water machines can go to that location and pull the moisture out of the air and make pure drinking water. And I think that that's the key, and that's what makes it so useful and such a great application is we start with pure water. So it doesn't matter if the river is contaminated. When the water from the river evaporates, it leaves all the contaminants behind, goes up to a gas form, and then again when it converts from a gas form to a liquid form through condensation, it's pure water. It's how we distill water. So we're starting with pure water, and then we're making it at the location. So the two major costs of water is shipping and packaging, and you don't have to do either of those. When you place our machines there, no longer do you have to truck cases and cases of bottled water into a location. The fact that we make water where there is no water and that we're taking it from the air and the machine just constantly regenerates that water really makes it applicable to all the areas that you just opened up with and talked about that we were able to implement our solutions. It's been an incredible year of seeing our technologies really provide hope and sustainable practices to people in need.
How portable is this generator? How big is it? What does it look like? Can any non-technical person like myself operate it?
It is very, very simple, Nancy. It is literally a plug and play. You plug it in, you turn it on, and it starts creating water. So our T12 unit is 40 inches high by 16 inches wide by 22 inches deep. We'll make between 4 and 15 gallons a day, depending upon how much water's in the air, and retails for about $4,000. Our biggest unit, which is the T200, that's the one that's on the Maui disaster relief trailer. That is 48 inches high by 54 inches by by 42 inches. So basically the size of your commercial air conditioner. That will make upwards of 365 gallons in a 24-hour period, and that retails for $55,000. Again, movable. The T100 and the T200 are easy to move with any forklift. Through the T100, it's about 500 pounds. 4 people can lift it. The T12, we have big wheels on it and handles and can be moved anywhere with just one person. Nancy, you could roll your T12 around, no problem whatsoever.
Does it make a difference if one lives in a rainy area versus a dry desert area?
It does. Again, we can only make the water that is in the air. So it's all based on relative humidity. The great thing about water is we can know exactly how much is in the air based on the temperature and the relative humidity. So the higher the humidity, we basically increase about 15 to 18% per 10% of relative humidity.
You mentioned something that is so important, and that is you can provide clean water without the polluting plastic bottles, which seem to be prevalent all over the world. And as we know, they don't biodegrade. We know that the plastic is a problem in the oceans. It's a problem in landfills. But if you can make water out of what's in the air, why is this so innovative? Why haven't we seen this done decades ago?
Number one, I think that we are, as a race, more reactionary than we are preparatory. I also think that when we see something, it becomes standard operating procedure, and no one likes to take a risk on a new technology. Third thing is we're a disruptive technology. We're taking on a Coke, Pepsi, Nestle that are the largest bottled water makers in the world. Those are some pretty big contracts when you're talking about disasters, when you're talking about things of that nature. Those contracts are big money. And so to come and say, hey, I have a machine that you don't need to buy that, you would think that people would say, oh, great, let's do this. But sometimes you have to follow the money. And we've been blessed to have some nonprofits that have said this makes too much sense for us not to do, and given us the opportunity to prove. The answer is always, well, we're not sure it's going to work, and people's lives are on the line. Now, just in 2024, as you mentioned, Maui and the hurricanes and Cameroon, we now are providing pure drinking water for people in need without having them to go through the plastic. And really, since we last talked, I mean, the studies that have come out, and why they all come out within a 1-2 month period. It was like once the dam broke, all the plastic that's in our body, because these nanoplastics are now in our water cycle and in the groundwater, and also in our food, because, you know, all the fish are in the water. So all of a sudden people are starting to realize that this solution of putting everything in plastic may not be the best thing, not only for our planet, but for our bodies.
We don't have time to mention all the different places where your atmospheric water generators are being used, both for regular purposes and for relief and to help communities. But let's mention just a few of the others. You provide water for athletes at Sports Academy in Port St. Lucie. Where is that?
That's up in North Florida. We also provide water for athletes at Joaquin Noah's facility in Yaoundé, Cameroon. They have our T12s out there. Again, like you said, we provide for schools in Colombia, villages in Cameroon, and disasters all around the eastern seaboard.
You provide for the Amy Grant Farm in Franklin, Tennessee, and California, I know, is big on agriculture. Is the agricultural industry seriously thinking about using this kind of water generation?
Oh, without question. We are actually working with a big farm up in California right now. We are putting together a program for them. Ozonated water creates higher yields at NIH. There's tons of studies about the benefits of ozonated water in agriculture. And thank you for mentioning Amy Grant. Amy Grant is so special. Introduced us to Compassion International. She's doing a nurture center for women having their children. She's using our atmospheric water generators after a decade of providing and building a water hub out of their Franklin, Tennessee farm with Vince Gill. So we are so blessed and honored with the people people that we work with to provide a sustainable solution for people in need.
14 years ago, I started helping an orphanage in Kogelo, Kenya, and visited it about 12 years ago and discovered that the girls were walking 2 miles to the river and carrying back dirty water. And so the orphanage and groups here in Southern California, we raised the money to build a water well. We put in the water well, but it was so precious that the parts were being stolen and became non-functioning. What would have been the cost if we had bought your equipment instead of building a well?
We work with organizations like World Vision and put together programs, but the same situation is what happens in Maka Camera, and they're walking about the same amount. It's 4.5 kilometers, so it's about the same amount, 2.2 miles to the river now. As well, they had a German company that drilled a well, and when we first went out and met with them, I'll never forget this 8-year-old boy who looked at me and says, "You're going to be like the German company when parts started breaking and people started stealing it. You just left leaving a hole in the ground." We put together a program where we're providing 1,000 gallons of water for that community. It's a village of about 985 people that lose between 4 and 6 people a year in water-related deaths. Interesting, that 8-year-old boy, his 15-year-old brother died of a water-related disease. So we put together rainwater capture, our ozone purification, because when we finally did fix the well, and again, people are like, well, hold on, you're an atmospheric water generator company. We put into the program, because the water issue is such a huge issue, we need all these technologies. So we also have a new product, ozone purification product, that will kill any E. coli and all those things in the well. So we put together a whole program with a water hub, a meeting place in the center of the village with actually educational classes, because now all of a sudden the women don't have to walk that way, spend 4 hours or 5 hours a day. So they now have the 4 or 5 hours a day. You got to teach them a skill, right? If you want to enact a theory of change, you got to not just feed their bodies, you got to feed their mind, and you got to feed their spirit. We don't just try and provide water, we try and provide a package that's going to change the generational curses that have gone on there, because again, they don't have sanitation. So you drill a well, all of a sudden you do the water test on it and it's full of E. coli, because they don't have bathrooms or a way to plumb out the human waste. You really have to take more of a look of what theory of change are you going to do. And I learned that from dealing with World Vision and why they're such a great organization in fixing the problems in Africa.
You mentioned 2 points. One is the young boy was right on when he said, oh, people come in, Europeans, Americans, they give us this or that, and then they leave and things don't work. It's important that if you provide help, that you consistently go back, make sure everything's working, make sure that they have the help they need. And the other point that you mentioned, which is important, is that it's not just providing one item like a water well or your system of getting water. It's helping the community in many ways, providing sanitation, even providing schools. And you have been active in other parts of the world, like you just recently came back from Colombia and the city of Cartagena, as well as the island of Tierra Bamba, where you helped your fellow nonprofit organizations in creating a school, creating the clean water through your water distribution system, did more than just service people in one area.
It is. You have to understand, you're dealing with people with feelings, emotions. Here's an island that if it was outside of Miami and South Beach, the views of Cartagena are absolutely gorgeous. But it was used as a garbage dump. They took all this garbage from Cartagena, and they also took the prostitutes from Cartagena and put them on the island during the day, so they had no place to go. So now this island has all these kids because the prostitutes get pregnant and no education. And so we worked with a nonprofit that was through my church, and a wonderful lady, Lori, who 13 years ago went down there and just got in her heart to help. And so she built a school to really help these children, these underprivileged kids, They had just finished. She had gotten a donation from one of her clients to build a really big brand new school. So they had been using our smaller machines because there's no water on that island. The only thing that they rely on is boats bringing in bottled water. As part of that education, you have to supply needs that the kids have. So they've been using our atmospheric water generators there. I got so moved, I donated one of our atmospheric water generators. Now we're working on solar and rainwater capture and really providing not only, again, the water, but now education, giving the kids to be able to work in alternate energy and work in water purification and giving them skills as well. Hopefully we plan on getting some sort of bottling facility or water making facility where it can become an income for them, where they can sell. Because now, because of the views and the location, all of a sudden all these little resort things are popping up on the island. So now if we can now get them an income as well, because none of these kids pay for the school. It's all relying on donors to fund them. So I like to say, Nancy, it takes a village to feed and hydrate a village. And you are so right. The difference between charity, I'm not saying that charity is bad. There's a need, but just look at something that we all know, Flint, Michigan. Okay, when Flint, Michigan happened, Cher donated $1 million of bottled water to Flint, Michigan. Now, that's a great thing. I'm not saying that it doesn't take a personal lot, but you look at it overall, she was also having a concert right then. She got a lot of press for it. But, in a month, that $1 million of bottled water is gone. Now Flint, Michigan has another environmental crisis of what do I do with $1 million worth of plastic bottles? It's a short-term fix. Again, if you want effective charity, you get partners that you're looking to do a theory of change. How are you doing it? And knowing that you're going to come against bumps and things that you're going to learn about. We talk about sustainability, but I think one of the main points is resiliency. Are you resilient to get back up off the ground when those things hit you in the face and work together as a team to overcome it?
In fact, you have emphasized how important it is to develop partnerships. Down in Colombia, you worked with Florida's Healing Hands of Hope charities. You've worked with many other nonprofit organizations. We're going to talk more about how people can help people when we return in a moment with my guest, Jeff Szur, who is the COO of Altitude Water.
Environmental Directions with Nancy Pearlman continues with further discussion of the world's critical ecological issues. For more information, you may call 310-559-9160 or go to www.ecoprojects.org. Now, here's Nancy.
I'm speaking with Jeff Szur, who is founder and chief operations officer of Altitude Water, which is a manufacturer and installer of several types of atmospheric water generators. We've been talking about how you've installed some of those generators. What's the difference between that for residential use, that for commercial use, that you use in the United States versus in South America or Africa?
We've really diversified our technology over the years. To say we're an installer just because we coordinate with solar companies in regards to using their inverters and their batteries. But our T12, which is our home and office model, is really just a plug and play. You plug it into a generator, you plug it into an outlet in your house, you plug it into an inverter for solar or a battery, you're making water. It's as simple as plugging in and turning the on-off switch. Our commercial, to explain it, like your 5-ton air conditioning unit. So like your commercial air conditioning unit, which is basically making sure it's level on a concrete slab or on a roof or something of that nature. We generally will hire, because we like to create jobs in the area, we'll generally hire a air conditioning installing company in the areas that we go. Then we also did this disaster relief trailer, which really, I sort of go back and forth, my heart being full with what we did in Africa and what we've done in Colombia. But these disaster relief trailers are what I believe are really, there's nothing like them in the world.
Let's Let's talk about that disaster relief trailer, because you're providing a way to get pure drinking water, but you also provide solar power energy, which is important in a disaster because usually the electricity is turned off. You provide cell service and internet service, and people definitely want to be able to communicate with their family and other individuals. So it's really a combined effort to have this disaster relief trailer providing these different services. Where has this been used in the United States?
Our first one was in Maui, the Maui wildfires, what has now become the state of the art because we had to do it so quickly. We didn't integrate the solar. We used generators for the electricity. The most recent one provides 210 gallons from the air, can purify from either a contaminated municipal source, a river or lake, 1,000 gallons of water a day. We can provide 60 kilowatts of battery storage. With the solar panels, it makes about 12 kilowatts an hour with good sunlight for about 8 hours a day. As long as it's not a cloudy day, we'll make 12 kilowatts of energy. The unit itself uses about 4.4 kilowatts, so we're basically putting about 6.6 kilowatts into the 60 kilowatts of battery storage. So we recently, with Hurricane Helene, with one of our partners, footprintproject.org, and the mindarmy.org also is the nonprofit who purchased this for South Florida in the area. It was a game changer, Nancy. I mean, especially think about a hurricane in Asheville, North Carolina. Who would have ever thunk that, right?
So much is changing because of the climate crisis, and we're certainly going to have more disasters, but just in our everyday life, we need to adapt. You assisted in the creation of the first solar-powered water generator through a partnership with New Use Energy Solutions, a Phoenix-based manufacturer of mobile solar solutions. How did that work, and where does that occur?
Again, it takes a village, and teamwork makes the dream work, right? So you find partners who have it in their heart that really believe in the mission that you're putting together. It's a labor of love, and so footprintproject.org introduced us to New Use. Their mobile battery solar generators are absolutely state-of-the-art and incredible. They built disaster relief trailer with us. When this thing pulled up, so when we left Florida, we didn't know where it was going, but we put it in the hands of Footprint Project. They said, get it to Perry. We need water for the initial first responders before we can get volunteers in there. We dropped off 400 gallons of water, and they said it's really now necessary up in Asheville. By the time it got to Asheville, we had coordinated with Grassroots Aid Partnership, which is a nonprofit that provides food throughout the world in disasters. But the unique thing was they are stationed in Asheville. So their warehouse was not affected by Helene, so they had all these food trailers. They start getting out the food trailers, start feeding people, and they realize they have no water and no electricity. Well, Footprint had coordinated with them because they go there boots on the ground the minute that the disaster hits and it's safe to get out and start doing triage, because that's really what disaster relief is all about. It's triage. What gets the red bracelet, which needs stuff immediately, what gets the orange bracelet, what gets the green bracelet, right? So they saw that food and water and electricity were needed, so they took our trailer and hooked it up with Grassroots Aid Partnership. Second day, we're making 600 meals a day for the people in downtown Asheville, right across from the fire station.
Did you get involved with this because of your faith, or is this something because environmentalists and concerned people can do something regardless of what their faith is?
It's funny. It's been an incredible journey. I just got interviewed on a TV show, and it made me think a lot. Initially, it was the business aspect. I believe water was going to be the next oil. I had seen what we've done to our aquifers, and the solution to pollution is dilution, and kick the can down the road, you're going to end up stubbing your toe. So initially I got into it in the business aspect, but my faith was really growing over that time, and it's been a marriage of both of those things. As you know, in this industry over the years that you have the battles that you have to go through. Having that faith to stand by and knowing that you're doing the right thing is what gets you through it. It's what allows you to fight those battles. I probably started out in the business, but now what keeps me going is seeing those kids give you a hug and say thank you for providing us this water.
I've traveled the world and I've seen so many places in need of help. It's hard to know where to put one's energy. Do people generally approach you, or do you find out by hearing the news or in your travels and deciding where you want to start helping by providing clean water?
Again, I say it all the time. It's a mantra of ours. Teamwork makes the dream work. Most of it comes to us. The Cameroon was December 31st, 2001. I got an email. 3 years later, we've turned the taps on. It's really been people that have seen what we've done, word of mouth, people like you who put me on these shows that enable me to talk about it. They start coming to us. And again, we try and pick and choose with the ones that we know we're going to have a team that's going to work together to overcome the individual obstacles that we can't be smart enough to know about beforehand, because the obstacles will come without question. We're dealing with nature. Having the right team and the right people around you is such an integral part of what we do, and we couldn't do what we do without the partners.
Where can one see your actual atmospheric water generator that's in the trailer? Can they go to your website? Can
Absolutely.
they see how big it is, how much it is, how to get it? How do they contact you?
Sure. Our website is altdwater.com. So it's altdwater.com. Again, that's altdwater.com. And we have everything from our T12 that you can put in your home and office, make yourself secure from any situation. We have New Use Energies solar generators on there as well. So if you want to package a solar generator and a T12 and make sure that no matter what happens, you have electricity and water, we have survivalist packages on there. You can see the disaster relief trailer in action. Also, you can go to our YouTube channel, which has a lot of the nonprofits testifying to how our technology transformed the disaster situations, and that's on YouTube. Altitude Water. Please look us up and subscribe. Subscribing is so important because it gets our stuff out there for all the people to see, because people don't know that this technology exists.
And your email?
And my email is JSZUR@ALTDWATER.com.
I live in the Los Angeles area, but like everybody else, we're worried about our electrical bill, gas bill, water bill. If I bought one of these machines and put it on my ordinary home here in the city, would I be able to use it with my current home water system?
Absolutely. You would plug it in and it would start generating water. It would take the moisture out of your air, which will make it feel cooler in your house. We're generally using 11 cents per kilowatt hour, which is the average cost of a kilowatt in the United States. We're generally making a gallon for anywhere between 8 and 20 cents. When I say we're making water, we're making the purest water, the most oxygenated water, because of our patent using ozone as the purification, and we're making alkaline water because we're putting minerals back into the water. So it's usually about an 8.2 pH.
I am so pleased that you are continuing your good work to help and continuing the innovative ecological technologies that are truly necessary to make a positive change in helping the earth, helping people. We'll have to get an update next year about many more of your endeavors, but I'm glad that you were able to take a moment and speak with us. Thank you so very much for being my guest.
It's an honor, Nancy, and I hope that we can work together in Kenya. We have conversations that I thoroughly enjoy your heart. Again, you were there before everyone said, hey, maybe we got to start thinking about being environmentally friendly. So it's an honor to talk to someone like you and have you tell the world about our technology. So I thank you very much.
Thank you. I look forward to continuing our endeavors together. I have been speaking with Jeff Szur, who is the founder and chief operations officer of Altitude Water. I'm Nancy Pearlman. Thank you very much for joining us, and do tune in again next week.
If you would like free information about these environmental issues, go to www.ecoprojects.org or call 310-559-9160. Environmental Directions with your host, Nancy Pearlman, is a community affairs program of the nonprofit organization Educational Communications and this station.